let's get right into this thing. All right. So here's basically the deal. Donald Trump, President Trump, is looking to potentially defund this group. And what is the group? It's called the SSAB. That's part of the Social Security Administration. Now, I personally think he is stepping in a pile of pooperoo by doing this. And it's not the wisest move that he could be doing because honestly, the way he normally does stuff is he will appoint the people he wants into the position to go ahead and guide, market, manipulate, change the direction of what he wants it to be based on the people he puts into it. In this case, he just wants to get rid of it in total. The kicker is this particular group is a special, independent, separate from the SSA, has two independent non-government people on the board of people that helps guide and advise Congress and the president about changes to Social Security Administration. Now, the only reason you would get rid of this group by defunding it, the only reason you would do that is if you intended vast, aggressive changes to Social Security Administration that you believe, at the end of the day, would not need an advisory board that was put in place originally politically to gain the trust of the American people that the government was not abusing their money. We literally have this board. It was literally put in place to have Americans believe that the United States government would not improperly use and abuse their Social Security benefits. Have they? Of course. But let me go through some of the details. What is this SSAB? And then we'll go into the article. The SSAB, this is straight from their website, the Social Security Advisory Board. About the board, the Social Security Independence and Program Improvements Act of 1994, Public Law number 103-296, established a bipartisan Social Security Advisory Board composed of up to 7 board members appointed by Congress and the White House. Supported by a small professional staff, the board provides advice and recommendations to the President, Congress, and Commissioner of the Social Security on matters related to the Social Security and supplemental security income programs and policies. So it's a board that is there to audit and provide information, suggestions, changes, etc., to both the commissioner of the SSA and Congress and the president. It is supposed to be a neutral executive board. They choose Democrats, they choose Republicans, and they choose 2 non-government people. Functions of the board: analyzing the nation's retirement and disability systems, making recommendations with respect to how the old age survivors and disability insurance program and the supplemental security income program supported by other public and private systems can most effectively assure economic security. Studying and making recommendations related to the coordination of programs that provide health security with Social Security programs. Making recommendations to the president and to Congress with respect to policies that will ensure the solvency of the old age survivors and disability insurance program, both in the short term and in the long term. Making recommendations with respect to the quality of service that the administration provides to the public. That one gets Trump in trouble. Making recommendations with respect to policies and regulations regarding the old age survivor and disability insurance programs and the supplemental security income program. Increasing public understanding of the Social Security system. Making recommendations with respect to a long-range research and program evaluation plan for the administration. Reviewing and assessing any major studies of Social Security as it may come to the attention of the board. Making recommendations with respect to such other matters as the board determines appropriate. Now, currently, the chair of this program, Democrat, is Bob Jumdef. None of you know who that is. A member, Republican, Jagadish Gokhale. None of you know who that is. Another member, Republican, Amy Schwartz. None of you know who that is, although you should because she's appointed by the Speaker of the House, but it doesn't matter. Another member, which some of you should know, Nancy Altman, right? Social Security Works, Democrat. Now, there are 3 current members that are missing from this entire thing. And the main thing is that the whole point of this was that this board was put in place to educate us, to tell us when the Social Security Administration, when the programs were not healthy, when they were doing poorly, when there was going to be an issue, a problem. Yeah, I look tired because it is 1:31 a.m. I'm just saying. And also, I'm losing hair, so I gotta find like a solution to that. It's been I was looking at the comments of the other video, trying to like figure out and read like, okay, what is my magic pill? You know. All right, so let's get specifically to this article because, to be fair, this is not a wise choice on behalf of Trump. This is a very unwise choice. Security board sources say, okay, so let's go in. Nathan Lane, April 25th. This just came out. Okay. The White House wants to defund a bipartisan board that advises the president and Congress on Social Security policy. Two sources familiar with the matter told Reuters, as the Trump administration moves to cut costs and eliminate independent voices in government, the White House's budget has notified staff of the Social Security Advisory Board that it plans to cut the board's annual budget from around $3 million to $0, according to the sources, who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss non-public budgetary details. The Reuters the move to defund the SSAB has not been previously reported. Congress established it in the 1990s as an independent federal agency to provide objective analysis on how to improve Social Security, the popular program that annually pays $1.4 trillion in benefits to 73 million Americans. They made this board because Americans didn't trust in the 80s and 90s the government to administer Social Security benefits, just like how Americans don't trust the government to properly administer their benefits right now or reinvest the money they put in to get a good amount out of it. So, like, you know, the thing with this whole thing is that Trump is trying to take this like half Democrats, half Republicans, two people that are not government officials advisory board that's supposed to be the leg, the pillar of why Americans should trust the Social Security Administration, although many of you probably have never even heard of this board. He's trying to take it and destroy it by defunding it. And when you defund a part of Social Security benefits in that way, by getting rid of the thing that literally is supposed to be the neutral middle voice to get Americans to understand how the program works, to publish reports that normally we couldn't get access to with, you know, the information inside the SSA, you got to be wondering what they're planning. Because to kill off the only real, true, built into the system, baked into the model whistleblower, which is the SSAB, this literal board member, board of 7 people that has to, you know, check and audit the SSA and then report to Congress and report to the American people. You can go to their website. Their website, just so you know, it's ssab.gov. That's it. They have announcements, they got research, they got papers, they got board meetings, they got independent work. This is the board that's supposed to be in place to tell you about what's going right and what's going wrong with the program. That's supposed to have very, very little spin compared to how the government will tell you tomorrow everything's going to be fine as we eliminate thousands from the payroll. All right, let's keep rocking and rolling through this. All right. While the board does not have decision-making power, its research has helped shape how the SSA runs itself and facilitate its legislation. It has also played a role in important policy debates, including a 2005 effort under the then President George W. Bush to privatize the agency that ultimately failed. The board's research was a key building block in a 2018 law that reduced the compliance burden for select categories of people appointed to receive benefits on behalf of those who cannot manage their own payments while tightening checks for others. While technically a separate agency, the advisory board's funding is a line item in the SSA's budget each year. This month, OMB gave SSA its proposed budget for the next fiscal year from October 1st, with funding for the board set at $0, the two sources said. When asked about the board's budget, OMB spokesperson Rachel Colley said no final funding decision had been made. President Donald Trump and his Republican allies have been trying to downsize the government while removing or restricting voices that could serve as a check on his agenda. Remember, this is written by, a group that, to be fair, Reuters is not Republican friendly. So, read between the lines. You know what I mean? Read between. His targets have included the 17 inspector general fired in January, whose job was to root out waste and fraud. Bob Junedef, the board's chair, told Reuters that he had yet to be formally notified of the funding decision. Quote, its strength is its bipartisanship. It's one of the few places you can go in government and get something that a bunch of people from different parties can reach consensus on. June Depp, one of the two Democrats on the four-person board, said in an interview. Okay. Remember, there's supposed to be 7 people, not 4. So they're not upkeeping this to begin with. It wasn't upkept during Biden. It wasn't upkept during Trump's prior administration. It wasn't upkept during Obama. They don't upkeep this. It's like a thing they don't really want to have power because it manipulates the public to know too much, and then the politicians don't get away with stuff that they like to. The fact, quote, that it would be eliminated to me is symbolic of sort of the larger trends in Washington. Tech billionaire Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency has targeted the Social Security Administration for significant cuts, triggering complaints from union officials, Democrat lawmakers, and advocacy groups about longer wait times for phone services and understaffed field offices. The agency has announced plans to eliminate 7,000 jobs, roughly 12% of its workforce. Quote, the Social Security Advisory Board was created to help the president and Congress strengthen the program, but now Trump is defunding it, Senator Elizabeth Warren said in a statement to Reuters. It wasn't created as just this thing that's supposed to help guide Congress. It was created specifically with at least 2 non-government people on its board to ensure that the American people were aware of how the SSA was handling their money. Because none of you should trust the government to always and consistently deliver the product that they say they are supposed to, right? There's supposed to be a checks and balances system. Social Security Administration does a pretty good job, but obviously they don't handle the investment of your money properly. Obviously, the cost of living adjustment math has been manipulated, but they're allowed to do that under the tax clause because of the 1937 Supreme Court ruling. As a result of all of this, getting rid of this bipartisan agency, not a smart move on Trump's behalf. He should put in Republicans, try to pull out Democrats and put in more, right-leaning Democrats. He should have done that. If he was going to manipulate it, he should have gone that route. Defunding it completely, not a wise choice. Not a wise choice. The SSA did not respond to a request for comment. Neither did the 2 Republican-appointed members of the board. June Depp has asked the board staff to contact OMB for an explanation of its authority to cut funding. One of the sources said, the bulk of the board's budget goes to paying staff. Defunding it will bring its work to a halt. But officially ending the board will require an act of Congress. But of course, if he just defunds it, then, that's it. Not going to do anything. Henry Aaron, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institute and a former SSAB chair, said that while the board has produced useful research over the years, its impact has been limited by the need to form a consensus between Republicans and Democratic members. It also doesn't advertise. Most of you don't even know it exists, so that's a problem because it was created for you to know it exists, for you to believe in it, in basically putting the reins on Democrats and Republicans. Hal Daub, a former Republican congressman who was board chair from 2002 to 2006, said he believes the board has played an important role providing independent analysis, but he is skeptical it will be missed because nobody knows about it. Like, we know about it. Like, people in the industry know about it, but like, you guys don't know about it. You're just not going to know about it. Quote, I don't see any great groundswell of special interests that would be arguing that it's so valuable that it should be exempted from any spending reductions or elimination, he said. This was reported by Nathan Lane in New York, editing by Ross Colvin, David Gregorio, and Rod Nickel. So here's the thing. Trump is making a mistake with this one. There's ways that he could have manipulated the board to have more right-leaning individuals. There's ways that they could have manipulated the output of the statistical information that they collect. They could have played that game. But completely defunding the agency board that was put in place to make you believe that your money's being spent properly, that just tells you that the government knows that it owns you. That's what that is. Like, the government isn't even worried about you disagreeing with it at this point. It's just like they own you. They don't care if you are part of this board, not part of this board. They own you. They own you. You're not even thinking about how the SSA could improve by fixing certain things. They just own you. And that's the problem. This board was created for the purpose of making the Social Security Administration, openly available to show all the nicks, all of the scratches, all of the warts on this program. So my point is, do you support the erosion, the eradication, the removal of the SSAB? the Social Security Advisory Board. Do you support that? Or would you like this group, which only costs $3 million a year, to potentially exist or spend $5 million on it and have it start advertising all the things that the Social Security Administration could be doing better? Just a thought. Because remember, OIG is part of the SSA. They report directly to the commissioner. SSAB, their job is supposed to report to the American people, and then Congress, the president, and the commissioner. I don't know. Getting rid of this, it seems like a poor political choice, because it sends a direct message to the American people that not only are the American people not powerful enough to have a voice on the direction of their Social Security benefits, taking their 16-17% per paycheck. It sends a direct correlation that the government thinks it's so powerful de facto that you won't even know or notice when the board that exists to tell you about problems is wiped. That's interesting. Okay. Anyways, I will catch you all a little bit later. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. Please remember to like and subscribe. Head over to Google, type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida. Throw some stars up there if you like. Totally up to you. I always like waking up to see new stars up there. I will catch you a little bit later. Please remember, on Mondays and Thursdays, I normally go live. Had a little bit of a rough week, though, for that. And then also, if you need a private session, 1 hour private session, mini contract is below. I will catch you. It's in the bio. I will catch you a little bit later. You have a wonderful night. I'm going to go sleep. I know I look tired, but we will go from there. Thank you so much. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.